So Scientology all begins with potentially a body router gets you to come into an org and you fill out the questionnaire, and probably whatever you write, the rep is undoubtedly going to say, "We can help you with that." And so it begins. So now you begin your arduous and expensive journey up the bridge to total freedom. Then, as you continue to rise, you will experience some basic gains, such as the communications course, and then you come across other issues on things that don't make as much sense as the earlier courses, but you think that as you have spent all this money, maybe it's just you, since other people around you seem to be doing well. Maybe the next level will clarify things. And so it keeps going, but then once you have read OT3 and accepted what it says, the next levels make no sense to me. From what I understand is that you now pay an increasingly large amount of money and audit yourself, which is called, I believe, solo auditing. You are identifying where all of your body thetans are located and removing them one by one. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't that like, for example, wanting to learn French and you pay a large amount of money and are given a book and told to read it, and that will be $50,000. Anyway, assuming this unbelievably is still making sense to you, you then continue on up to OT7 and then finally to OT8. I have many books by all of the major critics and listen to as many YouTube shows and podcasts on this subject as possible. I am almost addicted to this subject as it's so damn interesting, but in the same way a car crash is. It's hard not to look, as most of the stories are amazing, and what's more, they are real. So what I really want to know is whether I'm correct in my assertion that the main benefit of paying all that money and the hours of studying is so that when you die, you now have the ability to choose a body and return to Earth with full memory of your past life and be a full OT8 Scientologist. Do I have this right? What is the point of doing this, as the big prize at the top of the bridge is basically unattainable to the rank and file Scientologist? Please help me to understand. Okay, Steve, your question was not inaccurate or off in any way. Everything you said is pretty much how things go. Now, there's more to it, though. You're kind of missing a lot. And so let me fill in the blanks, because everything you said was right, but now let's get the full story. People go up the bridge in Scientology because they get very, very excited at the possibilities of their potential as a spiritual entity. This is the carrot. This is the thing that is being sold in Scientology, is your personal spiritual freedom and immortality as a being. And full awareness of who you are, who you have been, and what, and the ability to create your future in any way you want. And that is really where it's at. It's not about coming back next lifetime in a new body and being able to remember everything that's happened to you in the past. That's only one tiny part of the promise or potential that Scientology is supposed to fulfill for its OTs. Let me give you a couple pieces of information, might help clarify some things here. Very early on in the development of Scientology, even before Scientology was a thing, really, before it was an official church, when Hubbard was first developing Scientology, 1952 was a really crucial year for Scientology, because it was the year that that word first came out into the public forum. It was when Hubbard started going from Dianetics to Scientology, started stressing all the spirituality, and he started working and lecturing to define the potentials and parameters of what a spiritual entity could actually do. And the way he talked about it from then forward was basically its unlimited potential. You can do anything as an OT, anything you can basically conceive of. Because in the physical universe, everything you see around us, as far as Scientology is concerned, this is all an illusion. It is the sum total result of the collective reality that we all agree is true. And the only reason we live and die and eat and sleep and have babies and go to school and drive cars, the only reason the planet goes around the sun, that all this stuff exists or has any reality at all, is because we agree that it has reality. The key word that defines or describes what an operating thetan is disagreement. You disagree with the physical universe. You disagree with all the agreements that you've made over all the millennia you've been around. You've been agreeing and making the universe more and more solid. You have been reducing your potential as a spiritual entity or as a thetan down from the infinity of potential that you had, where you could create universes if you wanted to. You have reduced that down over all these trillinia to a zero, to a nothing. You have no real awareness of your spirituality. You think you're a body. You think this world is all there is. You think man came from mud. You know, if you believe science, then, you know, we're the result of spontaneous combustion in a sea of ammonia. Hubbard used to ridicule this idea endlessly because life, in all its complexity and vastness and potential, Hubbard said it couldn't just be the result of random chance. And so Hubbard's version of intelligent design is that thetans are the one who created all of this, not God. God might have created thetans or spiritual entities in some other universe somewhere, and Hubbard really doesn't talk about that at all. He just sort of hints at it. He never really says where thetans come from exactly. He just says they came into the physical universe 4 trillion years ago or some odd number. So this infinite potential that a thetan has is what Hubbard started talking all about in 1952. And he was using e-meters, and he was lecturing, and he was talking to people, and he was saying, man, this is really big. This is bigger than anybody ever imagined. You have the power to, you know, leave this universe entirely, not even be involved in the physical universe anymore. You can go off and you could literally create your own universes. You can play whatever game you want to play. Life will be wide open to you as an operating thetan. And that's why he called it an operating thetan. He said that thetans in their current state of existence here on Earth are practically dead. You can't kill a thetan, so you can only knock him out or hypnotize him, and I use him only in a generic way. Thetans don't have male, female, but you could hypnotize him, you can put him to sleep, you can knock him out, but you can't kill him. And you can make him forget, right? So thetans have been bumbling around down the centuries in this universe and getting worse and worse shape and worse and worse shape. And so Scientology promises to be the only thing in this entire universe that is designed specifically to free you as a thetan. Whereas everything else in the physical universe is designed to entrap you and keep you here and keep you ignorant and keep you down and suppress you. So Scientology offers this way out. You have to follow the exact route that Hubbard laid. You have to follow in his footsteps. And this is what encourages Scientologists to act like L. Ron Hubbard, to be like L. Ron Hubbard, to ask themselves, what would Ron do in this situation or this situation? Because Ron's the only one in all the eternity that the universe has existed who actually figured out how to get out of this trap. And getting out of this trap means you could come back to it and you could help everybody else, like in the Sea Org or in Scientology, to get at everybody. That's part of your responsibility as an OT, is you're supposed to take responsibility for other living entities who are trapped here. Because here's the other little kicker. Over all these centuries you've been existing, all these trillinia of years, you have imprisoned and enslaved and suppressed other beings just as much as they have been suppressing and trapping and hypnotizing and harming you. It goes both ways. You've been the suppressor and the suppressee. You've been the policeman, you've been the criminal, right? You've been the good guy, you've been the bad guy. You've been the white knight, you've been the black knight. All back and forth, over and over, again and again. So you do have a responsibility to help all those people you kind of hurt over all those years. And the other thing about this is that if you went off by yourself, you're just going to get trapped again, because other entities who don't have your best interest in heart are going to come and pile in on you. And Hubbard said that an organized group of lesser beings is capable of taking down a more powerful single entity. And that's how we all got stuck here in the first place. So Scientology encourages taking responsibility for everybody else. And this is actually, at its root, at its heart, is not a bad thing. It's not a bad principle, you see. This is the thing that gets played on that gets people into the Sea Org in the first place and gets them onto staff, gets them into, giving all this money to Scientology is this hitting this responsibility button. Because, of course, everything I'm saying is kind of a fantasy. It's L. Ron Hubbard's fantasy. And Scientologists buy into it. There's no proof that any of this stuff exists. You just make up memories and remember it all, and then it's all true. And that's kind of how it really works in the real world. But all this stuff I'm telling you is the things that Hubbard has told all of the Scientologists, okay? So bottom line, in answer to your question, Steve, is that Scientologists are thinking way bigger than just being able to remember their past lives. They want that ability, and they believe that by getting up to OT8 specifically, they will get that ability of remembering everything that's happened to them in the past. OT8 is marketed as the first true OT level. All the other levels before that, OT1 through OT7, are the pre-OT levels. OT8 is the first true OT level, and the ability gained from OT8 is freedom from amnesia on the whole track. The whole track being all your accumulated experiences going back to the beginning of time. So you're supposed to get that ability of remembering everything, but then you're supposed to have all these other abilities that are going to get rehabilitated by doing the rest of the OT levels. OT 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Scientologists believe these OT levels actually exist. They believe L. Ron Hubbard went the whole way to OT 15 before he died. He didn't, but they believe that he did, because they don't know anything about how he actually died, alone and in hiding and running from the law. So they believe that these OT levels exist, and they believe that OT8 is only the first one, and that by getting the rest of them released, they will be able to rehabilitate their full spiritual potential to create universes, do whatever they want, anyhow, anyway, anywhere. Okay? That's it. So really, probably the best, easiest, simple way to describe where Scientology is trying to take you, or claims to be taking you, is to godhood. And in that way, it's very, very, very much like the Jehovah's Witnesses, which is why I love talking to Jonathan Streeter about this stuff. And maybe someday we should do a Three Apostates about this and talk more about the final end goal and do some compare and contrast on that. That might be kind of fun. The final end goal of each of our religions, the JWs and the Mormons and the Scientologists. But anyway, that's the end goal of Scientology, is ultimate power and ultimate responsibility. And that's where you're supposed to be at. So that's why Scientologists keep paying the money, keep towing the line, keep trying to cooperate, because they think that that's what they're going to get. And if that's what Scientology was really offering, no one would be able to stop. I mean, it would be unstoppable. I mean, everybody would be, they'd just be banging down the door trying to get to it. If one person, just one person, could demonstrate even a fraction of that kind of spiritual power, Scientology would, the world would change overnight. It would be that amazing. But Scientologists can't prove a goddamn thing because it's all fake. Okay, so that is my answer to your question, Steve. I hope that answers it for you.